Hi there, welcome to another episode of Small Astrology, where we are taking a look at birth chart placements in relation to raising children so that we might have the best information that we can to be raising these small humans in the best way that we can, remembering that particularly these ones born in the last 5 years are coming out more emotionally intelligent than any of us could have ever hoped to be. So let's use this ancient wisdom to the best of our ability and find out some secrets. Today I am going through the Virgo sun, okay? So that's a sun sign of Virgo. Now, this is a mutable earth sign, okay? This is the energy of I analyze, and it is ruled by Mercury, which is our planet of information and communication. And this is a sign that specializes in turning chaos into order. It's a very discerning energy. So this child, the Virgo child, has a need for a quiet, orderly, and peaceful environment. So if you have a Virgo child and you find they are always asking everyone to be quiet, that is why. It is best to be able to have a place for them to have their quiet and orderly space. They're very judgmental and very critical. Now, this is towards themselves and also towards everybody else, because remembering what we do towards ourselves, how we treat ourselves, is also how we treat others, particularly when we are a small child. So this is because they hold people to impossible standards, because those are also the standards that they hold for themselves, these high standards. So a Virgo child will also notice all of the small details that other children, even other people, will not notice. This can be very annoying for a parent as well. Virgos are super observant by nature, and they do have a tendency to care deeply about everything, and that just adds to their level of being observant. They could, because of this, develop obsessive habits and fixate on things far too much. Now, this is the sort of child who might just flat out refuse to eat something if they have tried it once and they did not like it, okay? Virgo children are very picky with food, very picky with food. Now, they do love cleanliness and they do love comfort. This is that kind of child where if you aren't changing their nappy straight away, they will be very demanding about getting proper care. Okay, they don't like things dirty. They don't like dirty clothes, dirty bibs, anything like that. Grubby hands, they're not about that. Very good idea to teach them how to keep themselves clean very early on. They will be very open to learning those things. Now, they can find it difficult to get acquainted with new people, but if we get them used to that, then it gets a little bit easier, and the more used to someone they are. So if we are looking at bringing in other carers, it's a very good idea for a Virgo child to be able to spend time with them and other people that they trust in order to get that kind of understanding between the two of them. And once they do that, once you're accepted, it's a forever acceptance, all right? Now, they are very self-sufficient, Virgo children. They don't actually need anyone's praise in that aspect because they do just get on with it. However, we have to be careful to not criticize them, because even though they give it freely to others, they also give it very freely to themselves. So they do not want to accept any criticism, and we really need to be careful about how we are dishing out anything that could be assumed as criticism. Okay. Now, they can want a lot of things from relatives and friends, sometimes too much. Again, coming back to that idea of having these high standards for themselves that they do then project out and assume other people also should be very giving of. They can be very serious. There is like an excessive seriousness to a Virgo child. They often appear much more mature than their age, okay? And this kind of severe outlook, it can really prevent them from enjoying their childhood. So it is very important that we teach them how to have fun. Now, a Virgo, you're not likely to get a Virgo child that does stupid, thoughtless things, all right? They want to plan everything very carefully. They want to weigh up all the pros and the cons. This is not the sort of child to jump off the back of the couch onto a table unless it has been very well thought out and safety precautions have been put in place. You know, this is the sort of child whose punctuality could annoy you, all right? Their neat and tidy values of cleanliness are very high, and that's both internally and externally. So they don't like to have a lot of thoughts running around in their head. They don't like, you know, you think about the clutter on the outside of their world is very affected by the clutter on the inside of their world, and vice versa. So, because of this idea of everything has a place, you need to be very careful with a Virgo child, which I'm sure you know if you know a Virgo grown up, to not be rearranging their things, okay? They have a place for everything that makes sense for them in their own brain, in their own way they order things. So if you are looking to move around a Virgo child's bedroom, make sure you do it with them. They are also very helpful children, and they would love to be able to help you do that, okay? Now, they are very difficult to get to know, a Virgo child. They do not want to let anybody into their soul, okay? They are very picky about who they let into their soul. They are very compassionate though. Again, that idea of like once they let you in, it is a forever kind of love. And they are very compassionate. They love animals. Getting a Virgo child a pet is a great idea, because not only does it go to their love of animals, but it also helps them have a way that they can be responsible, which is something they also enjoy. Now, a Virgo child does not really know how to express emotions passionately. And some of the time, particularly in children, this can kind of come off as a bit stale and a bit indifferent and a bit uncaring. But a Virgo child is very sensitive, very easily hurt, and very prone to feeling insecure and inferior. So that's because of that high standard and that critical nature that they have. Their internal voice is very critical of keeping to their high standards. And so in this aspect, they do need praise. So they don't so much need praise for doing the work, for doing a good job, but they need praise in an affectionate way. Praise for talking about their feelings, praise for speaking up for themselves, praise for choosing what they need over somebody else's, and positive reinforcement. And this is in relation to self-esteem as well. So this is that idea of knowing how to praise the child based on what they come into the world with, okay? So you can see this insecurity and this critical nature in places like, you know, they might walk around acting like they've pre-scripted every scenario, because they're likely to have thought out the pros and cons of every situation before they step into it. However, if something goes wrong, doesn't go according to the plan, they'll feel very dislocated with the situation, with whatever is happening, and you will start to see that insecure behavior coming out. So when they express their emotions in these times, it is with a lot of restraint. They really think things over before they say anything. And even though to people that are not the parents of this child, that might seem like a dream, that the emotions are coming out in a very well thought out manner, to Virgo parents, it can be a challenge, because it is really hard to talk to a Virgo child about what is actually bothering them. They're not very open to having those discussions if they haven't thought about what they were going to say. Again, it comes back to this very high standard that they have for themselves on how they are seen, okay? Now, they can be very trusted with money. This is the sort of child who will spend it wisely over nonsense, okay? They will, you know, buy a book at school before they buy candy, all right? So teaching them about money early on is a really good idea. When you are teaching a Virgo child about money, though, you need to be aware that you have to teach them all of the sides. We need to be very careful with this sort of a child. There are a number of them in the zodiac that we need to be careful of this with, where they have a natural inkling to be sensible with it. And as you grow older, this can really take away from the idea of being able to have fun, and particularly for a Virgo child. So you need to be teaching the child that money is not just for paying bills, not just for saving. There needs to also be a little bit of that on the side that they can enjoy, or else what is the point, okay? Now, when we talk about Virgo children being fussy with food, now there is a reason for that, okay? They are often, often see them as children who aren't eating very much or who are eating the same thing over and over again. Now, the high likelihood that a Virgo child will eat exactly what they need is something that you need to be aware of. And this is being able to then teach them about food. You need to be teaching them about the pros and cons of all food and have a range of food available for them to choose between, because they will intuitively feel what their body needs, okay? What they need, what is suitable for them to eat, and they will often know when and how much they need to eat if they are given the opportunity to do so themselves, and they do have information and the correct range of food at their fingertips. So if you are seeing that your Virgo child is eating the same thing over and over again, then often that is why. It is just that they intuitively know that that is what their body needs. Again, very important to give them the information, okay? I always say Virgo filing cabinet. So a Virgo child needs all of the information, all right? And once they have all of the information, they're very intuitive. Virgo energy is the ruler of the sixth house, which is the house of health. So that is where the intuitive nature comes from, to know what is healthy for their body, particularly when it comes to food. And then looking at that idea of them needing a quiet place. Now that is because a Virgo brain needs maximum concentration. This is because they want to know the ins and outs of everything. And so they need a high level of concentration for that. So you might find that if somebody invades the personal space of a Virgo child while they are in the middle of something, this is when you are going to see the anger, all right? This is where the rage will come from. This is that throwing things mentality. How could you have interrupted me, all right? Now, they do, to a lot of people, particularly if you are a fire sign as a parent, they do tend to look like they are working very slowly. That is because they are doing it diligently. And they, again, it's that needing to know everything, needing to tick all of the boxes and check everything off in an orderly fashion, okay? So if you are trying to forcefully compel a Virgo to do something, you won't get the result that you think you will. That will not come across as supportive at all, because they know the pace at which they can work. So you need to be supportive of that and try not to rush them through things. Okay, now they will be good at school because they want to learn everything. So as long as they are being offered an opportunity to learn things in a way that works for their brain and in a way that allows them to question what they are learning, then you can trust them with homework. They'll do it because they want to do it. They'll do it in good faith, and they will want to follow the rules, particularly when it comes to learning. Because of that, because of this very high-strung nature of that Virgo, they can be prone to a number of things. So there is a lot of emotional repression that comes with this Virgo energy, because, it likes to be seen in a certain light. And so that idea of kind of repressing the emotions and not really understanding how to passionately exert them is a problem, and it can lead to stomach and intestinal vulnerabilities as well as nervous disorders. So keep an eye out for that. Those are often signs that your Virgo child is in an emotional overload or is in a moment of stress. So nervous disorders, which often in children are, fidgety kind of behavior and like those sorts of things. All right. A lot of stomach problems, a lot of stomach upsets and indigestion problems, things like that, where there shouldn't really be, if they're eating the same diet, then those things are coming up. That's generally a sign that they're under a high amount of stress, even if it's not showing on their face. Okay. So it is necessary to teach Virgos how to relax. They do not come into this world knowing how to do that. Okay. They come in knowing how to keep things in order, turn chaos into order. Okay, need to remember that. And so we need to teach them about a more simple world. We need to teach them about the simple joys of life and how they are more important than this whole keeping things in order, keeping things to this rigorous schedule. because particularly for Virgo child, that high stress can affect their health, all right, as it can with all of us. So you need to understand that the Virgo child doesn't want to break the rules, okay? I mean, when they get to teenagers, you're dealing with rebellion, but young children often don't want to break the rules. They're not the sort of child to see what comes out because of that. And so it is kind of important that we sometimes allow them to break the rules and have them not be afraid of the condemnation on the other side. Now, the reason for this is it helps with the mentality around not achieving their goals and then not going into a self-condemning mindset, which is very easily happens with a Virgo. So teaching them that every now and then, oh, we can break that rule, and like, we're not talking big rules. We're talking like, oh, maybe you can have a little treat after dinner. Maybe you can stay up a little bit later than bedtime. Those sorts of things where we're not being condemned at the end by not breaking the rules, okay? Because the Virgo really needs to be shown the other side of life. They really need to be shown ways that they can feel free and real. And so often this is taking them away from a lot of social places where they feel the need to appear a certain way. This is that idea of taking them, taking them to the bush, taking them into the forest, taking them to the beach where they can run wild, where they can be free and they can experience that side of life outside of their own rule structures. So when it comes to the duty of the parents, it really is your duty to help a Virgo expand their mind to fill that filing cabinet. They are going to be looking to fill that. So interesting books, educational games, ways that they can, question things, the whys, the hows, giving detailed explanations. Virgos can really handle a detailed explanation and they won't be happy unless you give them one. This is not the sort of child that you can say, you can't jump on the couch, and they say, why? And you say, because I said. That is not the sort of child that we're dealing with here. So you need to be aware of that. You need to be willing to give explanations at all times that they want to know, okay? Now, when we are offering another opinion or pulling up bad behavior, not that you'll get very much, or, offering a note about something that they are working on, you need to give it as friendly advice. It needs to come out like friendly advice. Do not raise your voice at a Virgo child. They will not tolerate any kind of violence against them. And raising your voice is a violent, it's a violent thing coming towards a Virgo child, okay? So never do that. You will not get the response you want. You will get the response of being completely shut down. Now, when we are looking at this behavior when it comes to other children, this idea of wanting to be the teacher, wanting things to be correct, we need to be aware that they are going to want to be the teacher here, okay? And we need to teach them more of a common language with children than that teacher, than that educator vibe that they're going to feel more compelled to go towards. Okay, they need to understand that even though sometimes friendship and communication for them can be quite difficult, that going towards principles and correctness instead of friendship can often be detrimental, because then they are unable to build trusting relationships where they can learn how to express their feelings. So we need to try and teach them this as early as possible. And the earlier the better, because this sort of energy can come out quite bossy, even though that is not its intention. And if we haven't taught them the value of other people's opinions, they will just be seen as the bossy child, and it will be very unlikely that they will be able to make a nice group of friends, okay? So when we are talking to a Virgo child, we need to try and remain quite calm, okay? Virgo is earth energy. Again, remembering that quiet space, that, contemplative space that they need to understand things. And so we need to approach Virgo children calmly, without reproach, without condemnation, because they already suffer from a really high level of self-criticism. And they really just need to see that you are interested and excited by what they are telling you, and then they will want to open up to you, okay? So when we are looking at these sun sign placements for children, one of the main parts that is very important, and I find very helpful myself with parenting, is to know what they've come in already knowing, because then it is our job to fill in the rest of the puzzle. And so a Virgo child, very self-critical, likes to repress its emotions because it doesn't quite understand how to feel them passionately, always striving for perfection. And so, as the parent of a Virgo child, as the caregiver of a Virgo child, it is not our job to teach them about perfection. It is not our job to teach them how to criticize their own work. It is not our job to teach them those things. We need to teach them the other side. We need to teach them fun. We need to teach them unconditional love, regardless of the outcome of the task at hand. We need to teach them that perfection is not needed. That perfection is something that we set up for ourselves to have something to fail. It's very important that a Virgo child understands that the work being put in is the important part, not whether or not they win or fail at the end. And that can be taught to a Virgo child who is very open to learning things. Because of their critical nature, if we focus too much on the failing part, if you are the sort of parent who would in general use a bad grade to motivate a child, you cannot do that with a Virgo child. If you criticize that Virgo child, just know that they have criticized themselves 500 times more than you could possibly do. And you need to be coming in with love and compassion when they fail at things, because they have already told themselves that they are undeserving of something because they failed a task. Very important. So the way to work with a Virgo child here is to understand them, to validate their experience, and to support them. Okay, it's very important that the Virgo child understands that that they are special in the ways that they are special, but also to teach them about confidence and self-esteem. If you imagine always having a self-critical voice in your head since the day you were born, that's what you would need to, okay? Someone to lift them up. Someone to teach them that they need to be their first biggest fan. Okay, they are confident in their ability and their skills, but if something doesn't work out, the self-criticism leads to a whole bunch of other problems, okay? So this is that idea of they might appear calm on the outside, but remembering on the inside, often there's a lot of repression going on and a lot of critical self-talk. It's finding ways for them to get that out is very good. Journaling is a very good idea. Again, a Virgo child is a child that could very easily learn reading and writing quite early on with the way that their brains work. So having them journaling or drawing pictures, finding ways for them to express their wild nature as well, you know. And if you can do it routinely, that is the preference for the Virgo child. So this is like setting up a time, you know, maybe before bedtime, where we sit and we talk about the feelings that we had that day, and talking about how they felt in our body, how we moved them through our body. What did we do to move those feelings through our body? Very important, very good. Do that on a schedule, okay? Make sure that they are expecting that talk, because they will be less anxious about bringing up their feelings if they kind of like, oh, it's that bedtime chat that I'm having tonight where I need to talk about how I felt. It also gives them stepping stones to be thinking throughout the day how they are feeling, because they know they're going to be talking about it at the end of the day. They're very observant like that. And if we can help them be observant of specific behaviors they have, that's very helpful for them to understand the way that they work. I would also suggest having an outlet where they can be wild. So this is where I'm talking about taking them out into the bush, or having a, you know, extracurricular activity where they can be a little bit crazy and a little bit wild, and finding a way for them to move emotions through their body. Particularly anger for a Virgo needs to be felt in their entire body. This is that teach them to stomp their feet, teach them to punch a pillow kind of energy. Teach them about getting their feelings out in a passionate way so that they're not repressing them, and be accepting of the way that they get their feelings out, okay? So this is a nice little calm Virgo child, very loving, will give it their all. You know, Virgo is on the healing axis with Pisces, and they do like to give a lot to other people. They do like to be very helpful. They do like to help people feel better. They often forget about doing those things for themselves, so we need to teach them about self-care and self-love as well. But you will have a beautiful little child on your hands should you make sure that you can keep that relationship open and trusting and accepting and validating their experience. So make sure you check out my other videos. We are up to Virgo, so all of the zodiacs up until then are already up on my channel. Please like and subscribe so that I can get this information out to as many people as possible. I would also advise to follow along on the astro weather. I myself find that very helpful as a parent to understand what kind of energies my children are dealing with on a daily basis. So make sure you jump on that. That comes out weekly. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok as well. And you can check out my website if you would like a birth chart reading for your child or for anyone in your family. This information is particularly for parents, but I find it is very helpful for fully grown Virgos, fully grown adults of these signs to kind of look back and see where, you know, the level of education that we had around parenting, 30 years ago, it was not what it is now. And I find this information, I'm a Virgo myself, I find this information very helpful to understand some of the work that I have had to do on myself growing up, where we are learning about reparenting ourselves. So this sort of information is very helpful for that. So again, thank you for sticking with me. Please like and subscribe so that I can get this information out to everybody else. And I will see you next week with a little Libra. And until then, stay weird. All you have to do to win is like this post and comment on it with your sun sign, and make sure that you are following me on both TikTok and Instagram, and then jump over to my YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I will be drawing this Christmas Eve, and you will have your birth chart in your inbox for the start of the new year ready to go.